You, chosen for this moment, carry a divine purpose few can fathom. You stand in a challenging season, besieged on all sides. Yet know this: God has warned those who stand against you. They tread on sacred ground. Your path, though arduous, is undeniably ordained. Divine warnings from God arrive with a piercing clarity, like lightning splitting the night sky, undeniable and unrelenting. You, one of the chosen, understand this. You feel it in the marrow of your bones. When God communicates, His voice is not some distant echo, but a commanding resonance that floods your consciousness. It's as though time itself bends to reveal truths hidden from ordinary eyes. He speaks to you through signs, symbols, and the undeniable urges that course through you with the power of a raging river. These warnings are not whispers. They are a series of undeniable revelations, each layered and potent, designed to guide, protect, and direct. God's patience is as vast as the oceans, yet it carries an intensity that could set the stars ablaze. He extends mercy, again and again, to those who stand in opposition, giving them time to turn away from their reckless defiance. But that mercy is not endless, and you know this. There is a threshold, a point at which His warnings become louder, sharper, and filled with an urgency that feels like the crackling edge of a storm. He issues these warnings not in anger, but with the precise and measured hand of a craftsman, chiseling away at resistance, offering those who oppose you countless opportunities to recognize the error of their ways. Yet each ignored warning builds upon the last, like dark clouds gathering for a storm that cannot be ignored. You, chosen and set apart, are not a passive observer in this divine drama. No, you are at the very heart of it. Your existence is charged with significance, a significance that those around you cannot fully comprehend. You move through the world with an aura that leaves ripples in the air, ripples that even the most hardened hearts cannot ignore. They sense it, that you carry within you a purpose beyond their understanding, something almost electric, almost too profound to articulate. This is why you draw both admiration and opposition, for the light within you exposes both the brilliance and the shadows in others. Your role as a chosen one is not a comfortable mantle. It is a weight, a consuming fire that burns within you. But this fire does not harm you. It refines you, forging you into something unbreakable, something destined. The world around you might shift, grow unstable, but you are held steady, as if God Himself is the solid ground beneath your feet. His warnings come not just to protect you, but to remind those who would harm you that their steps are faltering on ground they should never have trodden. They are warned because they have overstepped, trespassed into a realm that is safeguarded by a divine hand. And you, standing at the center of this storm, know that God's watchful eye is upon you. He sees the snares laid before you, the snares that gleam like poisoned thorns hidden in the shadows. But you will not stumble, for His warnings are like beacons illuminating the traps, showing you where to tread and where to avoid. Those who lay these snares feel a chill they cannot explain, an instinctive fear that grows with each attempt to interfere with your path. They do not understand that it is God's hand pushing them back, an invisible force urging them away from you. It is not that they lack courage. It is that they are confronted with something beyond their reckoning, something that their souls recognize, even if their minds do not. Warnings from God are not gentle whispers. They are thunderclaps, shock waves that shatter the fabric of time and space, resounding with the inevitability of a storm. You, chosen by a divine hand, know the intensity of these warnings. They bear the weight of divine judgment, unfathomable and unbreakable. To ignore them is to court disaster, as those who have stood against you will come to know. God does not send these warnings idly. They are delivered with precision, a celestial scalpel slicing through the illusions of those who believe they can oppose you without consequence. Consider the story of Jezebel and Ahab. Jezebel, a queen defiant and unyielding, laughed in the face of God's power. She stood before warnings like a mountain before the sea, utterly immovable, utterly foolish. Ahab, though, trembled. He saw the looming shadow of God's judgment, and though imperfect, he recognized the enormity of his defiance. He repented, bending like a reed in a fierce wind, acknowledging the futility of resisting the divine. And for a moment, he was spared. Jezebel, however, was swallowed by her arrogance. She ignored the warnings, mistaking patience for weakness. And in the end, her fall was a spectacle of divine retribution. Her disregard for God's warnings sealed her fate in ways no mortal hand could prevent. The time for mercy ended, and the ground beneath her became a maw, swallowing her in a tide of judgment she could not escape. You too have seen adversaries ignore these same celestial warnings, pushing past the invisible barriers God has set around you. They believe they can move freely, that the divine hand protecting you is a figment, that they are immune to the consequences that loom like a storm on the horizon. They are wrong. Their time is running out, for God has warned them repeatedly, each warning a louder echo, a greater vibration, filling the spaces around them with an urgency they refuse to acknowledge. Every tick of the clock marks another chance slipping away, another step toward the precipice. They have been told to stop, and yet they persist, deaf to the thunder of God's impending judgment. But you know with an unshakable certainty that the storm will break. There was a time when an adversary stood against you, one who sought to unravel what had been woven by divine decree. God, in his mercy, granted them a vision, a glimpse into the consequences of their actions. It was a moment, like a lightning bolt in the darkness, illuminating everything they had overlooked. They saw the aftermath of their choices, a wasteland of ruin and despair. In that blinding flash, they understood the gravity of their defiance. The vision cracked them open as though they were a vessel shattered from within, and they relented. They withdrew, shaken to their core, for they had been shown a glimpse of a reality that none would wish to face. You know this, for God has revealed similar warnings to those who persist in standing against you now. They have been shown, they have been urged to stop, yet still they push forward, as if oblivious to the doom that waits like a lion in the shadows, ready to pounce. Even those closest to God are not immune to his judgments. Miriam, the sister of Moses, questioned the authority of a chosen one, her own brother. She thought herself above consequence, her loyalty unshakable, her faith secure. But God's judgment is as impartial as it is fearsome. Miriam was struck down with leprosy, a stark and painful reminder that no one, no matter their past service or devotion, is beyond God's reach when they defy his chosen. The affliction marked her as though her very skin bore witness to her error. She was cast out, her isolation a physical manifestation of her spiritual trespass. Even she, who stood so close to divine favor, was not spared the consequences of defying the will of God's anointed. You know that this severity applies even more so to those who set themselves against you, a chosen one. They may not bear physical marks, but their lives are punctuated by the chaos and confusion that accompany divine judgment. They stumble, they falter, yet they refuse to acknowledge that it is God himself who has laid obstacles in their path. They cannot see that their ruin is not incidental, but an outcome they have invited by ignoring the warnings that ring in their ears like the tolling of a relentless bell. Their downfall is inevitable, but your elevation? That's divine. If you're ready to ensure that nothing they've done can touch your rise, it's time to join the Obsidian inner order. This isn't just about surviving the chaos they've brought upon themselves. It's about thriving while they crumble. Inside the Obsidian inner order, we show you how to harness the strength of your calling and turn it into a force that leaves their confusion far behind. God has led you here because you're meant to rise while they fall. Their ruin is the consequence of their choices, but your rise is the fulfillment of your destiny. If you're ready to leave their chaos in the past and step fully into your divine purpose, join the Obsidian inner order. The link is in the description. The nature of God is not a single note, but a symphony of forces that course through existence with both tender compassion and fierce judgment. You, chosen as you are, live under the protective canopy of a God who embodies love and justice in their most potent forms. He is your protector, a shield made of fire that consumes any who dare to step across the lines he has drawn around you. But know this, God is not merely a silent guardian. He is an avenger, a force that moves like a thunderstorm, roaring through the lives of those who challenge his chosen. He holds them accountable with a precision that is both terrifying and awe-inspiring, and they do not escape his gaze, for he sees all. There is a gravity to being chosen, a weight that others cannot fathom, and with it comes God's vigilance. His love for you is an unyielding force as vast and deep as oceans, yes, but also as intense as a blade honed to perfection. God watches over you with a relentless focus, one that would obliterate any who think to harm you. Every offense against you is an offense against him. For you are not merely a follower, you are fulfilling his purpose. The eyes of God pierce through veils of deceit, unmasking those who seek to harm, deceive, or diminish you. They may walk in shadows, believing they are unseen, but nothing escapes the sight of the one who guards you. His love is fierce, and his protection is a wall of flames that cannot be crossed without consequence. Yet God's love, though boundless, is not blind. His mercy flows like a river, vast and generous. But even rivers have banks, even oceans have shores. For those who transgress against you, there comes a time when God's patience, though infinite in scope, reaches its limit. They are given chances, warnings, visions of the path they are choosing. These are not subtle hints, but glaring lights cast upon their misdeeds. God allows them the time to recognize their folly, to turn back from the edge before they tumble into the abyss. Yet, there is a point at which even his mercy can no longer hold back the tide of justice. His love becomes as a storm, transforming into a force of reckoning. Those who refuse to heed his warnings find themselves swept up, caught in the raging currents of consequences they cannot control. God is also a God of war, and you, his chosen, are not left vulnerable to the whims of those who would do you harm. He is not only a defender, but an active force, a whirlwind that descends upon those who assault his anointed. He comes as a whirlwind, a raging inferno that leaves no stone unturned, no transgression unpunished. For those who set themselves against you, he becomes a figure of unrelenting vengeance. His justice does not falter, it does not hesitate. When his chosen are targeted, he rises as a warrior, his power surging like an army that cannot be stopped. Those who ignore his initial warnings may not see the gathering storm, but they will feel it. It will fall upon them with the force of 1,000 hammers, a relentless cascade of judgment they cannot escape. God is not indifferent to the injustices you face. He is not a passive observer, but a force that moves with intention. Every act a deliberate declaration of his love for you and his wrath for those who oppose you. His love and justice are two sides of the same unbreakable coin, a divine duality that commands both loyalty and fear. He is both the embrace that shelters you and the sword that strikes down your enemies. His warnings are not idle words, but harbingers of the consequences to come. To harm you is to provoke the fury of a God who wields both love and vengeance with equal mastery. Those who set themselves against you will discover that there are limits to mercy, and they are standing on the edge of that limit, their next step leading them into an abyss from which they cannot return. Your enemies have treaded dangerously close to the edge of a chasm they cannot fathom, and the time for them to heed divine warnings is swiftly running out. God, in his endless mercy, has extended to them chance after chance, each one a stark moment of clarity that should have ignited a spark of fear, a moment of recognition. Yet they have closed their eyes, deaf to the resonance of truth ringing through their lives like the relentless toll of a bell. Each warning they've dismissed builds upon the last, and now they stand poised on the precipice, unaware of the severity of the fall that awaits them. God's patience is vast, yes, but not unending. It has the depth of an ocean, but even oceans rage and crash against cliffs, reshaping landscapes with the passage of time. For your enemies, that time has almost come to an end. They have been shown the error of their ways as one might see a distant storm gathering on the horizon. Each flash of lightning, each low rumble, was a chance to turn back, to seek shelter, to recognize the might they foolishly challenge. But they chose defiance, thinking they could weather the storm, thinking they were beyond the reach of divine retribution. They are wrong. Their defiance is a fragile mask, a wall of sand against an inevitable tide, and soon they will feel the consequences crashing down upon them, unavoidable and absolute, for they have walked blindly into the storm that God has held at bay until now. But you, chosen one, are held in a different light, a light that shields and guards with a ferocity that words cannot capture. You are encased in a fortress that no force can breach, a stronghold built not of stone, but of the indomitable will of God. His protection surrounds you, binding you with the strength of 1,000 mountains. Each step you take is watched over. Each breath you draw is safeguarded by a power that none can overcome. Your enemies may try to breach this divine fortress, but they will only find themselves broken against its walls, their efforts as futile as striking against the roots of the earth itself. You are God's chosen, set apart and sealed with His promise. He has vowed to defend you, to uphold you, to preserve you against any and all that would seek to harm you. Those who defy this promise are not merely opposing you, they are setting themselves against a cosmic force that will not be moved. Theirs is a last chance, a final warning before the gates of mercy close forever. God's patience is vast, yes, but there is a moment when it gives way to a judgment that cannot be delayed, a reckoning that will sweep through their lives like wildfire. For those who continue to stand against you, there will be no escape, no corner in which to hide from the flames of truth that will burn through their illusions, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. Your purpose is a force woven into the very fabric of existence, a current that runs deep and unyielding, undeterred by the turbulence that surrounds you. You, chosen and set apart, hold a path defined by divine intent, one that calls for vigilance and resolve. There will be those who stand against you, their words like stones cast into your river, their actions mere attempts to disrupt the flow of something far beyond their understanding. Yet you are not swayed. You are a storm made flesh, a conduit for a power that cannot be diminished. The resistance you face is not a signal to falter, but a reminder of the significance of your path, a testament to the weight of your mission. It is no accident that God's warnings have been delivered with such force to those who oppose you. Their defiance only highlights the importance of the work you are here to do. Remain unwavering as the mountains that withstand both time and tempest. You stand under the watchful eye of a force that does not slumber, a presence that holds you firm in your purpose, even as others attempt to pull you astray. Your calling is not subject to the whims of mortal interference. These warnings delivered to your enemies are not merely for their benefit, but also a message to you that your mission is a threat to the forces that would wish to see you fall. They seek to disrupt you because they sense the light that emanates from your purpose, a light that exposes their shadows. They lash out, desperate, yet their efforts are feeble against the immensity of what you carry within you. The opposition you face is evidence of your mission's significance, a reminder that you are on a path of profound consequence. Trust in God's timing, for it is a force that weaves through the very core of all things, precise and unassailable. He sees not just the beginning and the end, but every thread in between, every intersection where your path meets the machinations of those who would do you harm. He is not rushed, nor is he delayed. Each moment, each decision, aligns with his purpose. You need not strain yourself in the pursuit of justice, for justice is his domain, a domain that moves with the relentless precision of the stars themselves. God's timing may seem hidden, wrapped in layers you cannot see, but it unfolds with an inevitability that cannot be circumvented. He will bring down those who challenge you, their final chances slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. They are on the cusp of their reckoning, and you have only to stand firm and watch as his justice moves in ways they could never predict. You do not need to retaliate. The temptation to strike back, to engage in the turmoil, is the voice of distraction, a mirage meant to pull you from your course. But you are beyond that. Your strength does not lie in reacting, but in remaining steadfast. God is handling your enemies, and in ways that only He can, He will bring them to a place of accountability. Each attempt they make against you only binds them tighter to their own undoing. Each act of defiance writes another line in the script of their inevitable downfall. Let them exhaust themselves in futile pursuits, for while they battle shadows, you walk in the light of divine purpose. God's justice is a tide they cannot escape, a tide that rises slowly, but surges with a power that overwhelms all resistance. Stand firm, and know that the storm they have called upon themselves will soon envelop them entirely. God's warning to those who oppose you is not an idle threat. It is a statement of absolute, unshakable truth. Your adversaries have been given every opportunity to change their course, to retreat from the path of defiance they have chosen. But should they persist, they will face the full, unrelenting weight of His judgment. Their time is running out, and the consequence of their choices looms like a storm, gathering force with each passing moment. You, however, stand secure, sheltered under God's unbreakable shield. This is the power of being chosen, the significance of standing within His protection. It is a privilege, yes, but it is also a testament to the unwavering purpose that you carry, a purpose that none can thwart. As one who walks this path, you are far from alone. Divine strength surrounds you, and the support you have is not merely from those you can see, but from forces far greater than any earthly power. You are part of something vast, something that moves with the precision of stars and the force of an ocean. This is the assurance that your steps are not taken in vain, that your faith is anchored in a reality more enduring than time itself. Trust in this. Walk boldly, for you are chosen and held by a power that does not waver. Now, as you continue in your path, let the certainty of this truth fuel your resolve. Stand tall and remain vigilant. Share your story, and let others see the strength that courses through you. Let them know what it means to walk as one protected, as one who holds a purpose so significant that even the forces arrayed against you are rendered powerless. Tell of the warnings you've witnessed, of the protection you feel. Your words may serve as a beacon to others, calling them to recognize the same strength within themselves. Let your story be a testament, a reminder that those who are chosen walk with the confidence of knowing they are never alone.